Welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice, Luck of the Draw. I'm flying solo today, so we'll see how this goes. It of course gives me a chance to remind you that if you have a deck that you'd like to see featured on here, maybe it's something that's working well in your play group or something that you've always wanted to build online, finally built it and want to talk about it, come down here to Game Hub, sit down with me, and we'll talk about it. In the meantime, let's get on with today's lab report. Welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice Lab Report. The lab report was intended to be a small segment at the beginning of each show to help you improve your game on a more immediate level. The idea was small strategies, little tips and tricks that would improve your gameplay. In the past we've talked about cards like Entomb and so on, but I really intended for this segment to be for you to find a little tidbit of something that would improve your game the way it's improved mine. But then somebody in your play group plays a card that blows your freaking mind and you just can't help but talk about it. At least that's what happened this time. So regardless of what I initially planned on talking about, thanks for that, Josh, by the way, I have a specific card. And before we get to what that card is, I'm going to say, as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And after I've named that card, if you like it and find it useful, be sure to hit the notification bell too. Simple card with a very powerful effect. One that I wasn't even aware existed. Aura Thief. Now 4 for a 2/2 flyer, that's whatever. But the idea that he takes every enchantment on the board and makes it yours, that is mind-blowing. So that's your lab report for this week. Find a way to exploit a Aura Thief. Game we played, of course I wiped the board immediately after that or shortly thereafter, but the idea, the possibilities that were there with taking enchantments, one of the hardest things to get rid of in Commander, or well, in any Magic game really, short of playing green of course. Aura Thief. Check it out. So for this episode of Tibalt's Apprentice, I chose to talk about a deck that's unique. It's maybe not unique in the Commander sphere. Commander sphere, no, that's a card. In the realm of Commander, but it's a unique deck for me. I tried to work with everybody in our play group on a single deck to collaborate with them just to find a deck to work on. And this one, well, I worked on this with Josh, or rather, Josh maybe found the most annoying deck that he could and thought of me. Maybe I'm just lucky that way. But anyhow, Yasova, yeah, I should put my glasses on. Yasova Dragonclaw. I'm probably butchering this. Shouldn't ask a dyslexic to read on camera. At any rate, her ability is Trample. She costs 1 green, 2 colorless. Trample, at the beginning of your combat, on your turn you may pay 1 blue or red, another blue or red. So it has that hybrid mana on there. So it kind of takes advantage of that to allow me to play a 3-color deck because of her abilities. Oh, what other abilities? At the beginning of your combat turn, you may pay 1 colorless and 2 hybrid mana of either blue or red. And if you do, gain control of target creature an opponent controls with less power than her, and you gain control of that creature, untap it, and it gains haste until end of turn. Her power and toughness is 4 and 2, so any creature with a power less than 4 you can grab. There's, of course, ways to make her a little bit larger, but obvious the engine here is a sack engine. And to make that work, in particular, there are 3 different cards. Now, there's a great write-up on tappedout.com and, on edhrec.com. And I'm sure that's where Josh and I initially discovered it. Josh discovered it, showed it to me. I've made slight changes to it. The full write-up of the entire deck list is there. The changes I've made, I'll talk about a couple of them, but you can find it there and find how to play this deck the best way there. But some of the things that I want to talk about was the fact that you can actually increase her power with artifacts such as the Demon Male Halberd. It adds a equipped creature gets a +4/+2, and it has the equip cost of sacrificing a creature. The drawback there is the fact that equipping can only be done at sorcery speed. However, if you have a creature, you can put this on her. She suddenly becomes an 8/4, and now you have a whole larger range of creatures that you can take at that point. Spawning Pit, another card that's a sack outlet, but most importantly, it is a free sack outlet. For certain cards, you need to tap something to sack and so on and so forth. The ability to sack at instant speed, priceless, absolutely priceless. So Spawning Pit is a card that allows you to sacrifice a creature to put a charge counter on Spawning Pit, and then you can pay 1 colorless, remove 2 charge counters from the Spawning Pit, and put a 2/2 spawn artifact creature into play. So obviously you're going to be taking other people's creatures, making them yours, sacrificing them, and creating your own creatures. And of course, if we're going to talk about sack outlets, we have to talk about Altar of Dementia. Altar of Dementia, sacrifice a creature, target player puts number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power on from the top of their library into their graveyard. Never underestimate the ability to destroy somebody's ability to play the cards by putting them directly into the graveyard. It's doesn't matter how expensive the cards are that they're running if they never get a chance to put them in their hand. There might be exceptions to that, but at any rate. So I have these in kind of a random order, but there's a few that I wanted to talk about. One of them is an enchantment such as Death's Presence. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, where X is the power of the creature that died. It's just a fun card that doesn't necessarily have a home, well, because it costs 5 and 1 green, doesn't really have a home in a lot of different decks, unless they're looking to exploit it. But having said that, you could probably say that about just about any card. Hull Breach is another one that I think is underplayed. Of course, since I'm playing green and red, there's blue splashed in too, but green and red, green is good for getting rid of enchantments, and red for getting rid of artifacts, but why choose one? Choose both. Choose one, destroy target artifact or destroy target enchantment, or destroy target artifact and target enchantment. Very good. Enchantments are one of the hardest things to get rid of in just about any game, especially in Commander. They're going to have far-reaching effects, and it's going to be necessary to get rid of those sometimes. Some of those cards, especially, I'll bring his name up since he's not here, but especially since Enrique likes these so much, curse cards, and he's taught me the value and to appreciate a good curse. The curse I'm running in this deck is Enchant Player, and that is Curse of Opulence. For 1 red, whenever an enchanted player is attacked, create a colorless artifact token named Gold. It has sack this artifact and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. Why does this become important? Because the obvious flaw in taking people's creatures is you're going to make people mad. This will help maybe alleviate some of that. It kind of gives a group hug, and maybe you won't be so upset if you attack somebody else and you can get value for that. Something else to be said about this deck, you have to be careful when attacking. I wouldn't say attack one player specifically and take their creatures. I shouldn't say attack, I should take creatures, take and sack, because really that's what you're going to be doing. you want to be political about it. You want to make sure that you're taking the largest threat on the board. So if you're playing in a full group of commander with 4 other people, or rather 3 other people, you don't want to become arch enemy. You know what I'm saying. So the idea is you're going to be taking creatures, but 1 creature at a time isn't going to get the job done. Molten Primordial for 5 and 2 red, 5 colorless, 2 red, is a haste avatar. That's a hasted avatar. And when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste until end of turn. Provided you have a sock outlet on the table, you want to grab multiple creatures and go ahead and attack. On the topic of multiple creatures, I have a Will Breaker in here. Will Breaker is 3 colorless, 2 blue, and when it's a human wizard for a 2/3, whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, gain control of that creature for as long as you control Will Breaker. If you can get her out and you can protect her for multiple turns, you can collect multiple creatures. Good to have that mutiny on a stick there. The next one that I want to talk about is Mob Rule. Because again, we talk about wanting to take multiple creatures. So Mob Rule for 4 colorless and 2 red, choose 1. Gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste until end of turn. So got a bunch of big flying angels out there? Not anymore. The other part of this, because I did say choose 1, it has another mode, and that is gain control of all creatures with a power of 3 or less until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste until end of turn. Oh, you're coming at me with a horde of zombies? I don't think so. Now the problem, of course, is it's a sorcery, so you have to play that on your turn, but it's still nice to look down the barrel of an entire army and know that you can scoop them up. At instant speed, grabbing multiple creatures, and maybe during somebody else's turn, is Domineering Will. For 3 colorless and a blue, target player gains control of 3 target non-attacking creatures until end of turn. Untap those creatures. They block this turn if able. Let's look at that text a little bit more. Target player gains control of up to 3 target non-attacking creatures. So, say you want to goad somebody. Let's say it's somebody else's turn. Somebody else is about to be wiped out. Let's grab these creatures over here, give them to this person over there, let them block, and you deal with multiple threats that way. Now, you can see how I would wind up being arch enemy if I did that too often. So choose your plays judiciously here. Profaner of the Dead for 3 colorless and a blue, and it's a Naga wizard that's 3/3, but it has exploit. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. That's the exploit mechanic. When Profaner of the Dead exploits a creature, return to their owner's hands all creature an opponent controls with toughness less than the exploited creature's toughness. So you can see some crazy synergies that might be able, how you might wipe entire boards, again, judiciously. So while Josh and I thought of this, or Josh suggested this to me as a deck that I might want to play, and it indeed is, it does tax my abilities to be patient and make strategic plays. Moving on. Harness by Force for 2 red and a colorless. This has Strive. Harness by Force cost 2 colorless and 1 red, where the initial cost was 1 colorless and 2 red. For the Strive cost of 2 colorless and 1 red, you can cast it, or you can trigger it for multiple creatures. How about I just read it off the card? Harness by Force costs 2 colorless and 1 red more to cast for each target beyond the first. We talked about how important it is, or I'd mentioned how important it is to be able to take. Wow, did I just hit a glitch in the Matrix? Anyhow, be able to take multiple creatures. So gain control of any number of target creatures until end of turn. Untap those creatures. They gain haste until end of turn. So even if you don't have a sack outlet on the board, you may find yourself smacking and taking somebody out by playing their army or somebody else's army against them. One of the more unique cards and artifacts that's in here is Cold Storage. Cold Storage looks like it's from way back in Weatherlight. I'll have to double check that, but Cold Storage is a 4-color, well, it's colorless mana, 4-colorless artifact, and for 3, you can put target creature you control on Cold Storage. Sacrifice Cold Storage, put all creature cards on Cold Storage into play. Interesting possibilities there. Just a few more cards to go. Grab the Reins. For 3 colorless and 1 red, choose 1. Again, it has multiple modes. Until the end of turn, you gain control of target creature and it gains haste. Or sacrifice a creature, grab the Reins, deals damage equal to that creature's power to target creature or player. And at the bottom is the Entwine cost. Entwine for 2 colorless and 1 red, you can choose both of them. Rishadan Pawn Shop, probably butchering that too. Anyhow, for 2 colorless, you can play the artifact, and for 2, you can tap it, target card in play, shuffle target card in play you control into its owner's library. Sometimes putting them in the graveyard isn't always the best solution. Being able to throw them back into the library to have them drawn at a random date, that can be worth something. Word of Seizing, 3 colorless and 2 red, another instant. Untap target permanent and gain control of it until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. The most important thing was what I didn't read at the top, which is it has split second. So if somebody is doing something that's going to interfere with you casting, the split second mechanic is priceless to stop that from happening. The final card that I have in this deck to talk about is Mutiny. For 1 single red, target creature an opponent controls deals damage equal to its power to another target creature that player controls. So sometimes if they're playing a Death Toucher or something of that nature, you can get 2 creatures for the price of 1. At any rate, that is my Dragonclaw deck. I'm sure there are cards that I didn't mention that you think should be added to it or would be good ones to play. Take advantage of the comment section down below and let me know what else. I will try to put the deck list as I am running it. Like I said, it's already on EDH Rec. I will include a link to the article there. I'll put on Tapped Out then the deck that I am currently playing. And we can look at that and see if there's any cards that I didn't mention that maybe you think should go in here. More importantly, if you have a deck that you like and would like to talk about, be sure to drop me a line. You can reach me through the comments or you can contact me. I'll flash my phone number up on screen. How about that? Realize that I don't text, so you'll have to leave a voice message. But if you're in the Manhattan Beach area and you can meet me down here on a Monday night at Game Hub, I'd love to talk to you about your deck. In the meantime, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you like the content, go ahead and click the bell. Thanks.